The story begins with Evelyn and her family, who had recently moved to a new town. Evelyn was a carpenter by profession and had a great passion for decorating her home. Her husband, Red, had gotten a job as a supervisor at a construction site, and on the surface, life seemed to be going well. But there was one problem: their son Cain couldn't adjust to the new environment. No one at school liked him. One day, when a few boys bullied him, Cain lost his temper and fought with all of them. As a result, he was suspended from school for 3 days. Red was upset over Cain's behavior. Still angry when he came home, he found that Evelyn had invited a man named Uriah. Uriah couldn't speak, but he claimed he could communicate with spirits. Evelyn wanted him to check if their house was under the influence of any spirit. But Red had no interest in such things and immediately sent Uriah away. Some time later, Red and Evelyn sat beside Cain to have a serious talk. Gently, they asked, "What's really bothering you?" Cain, speaking softly but clearly, told them that all the kids at school bullied him, they didn't find him cute, and they didn't like playing with him. As punishment for fighting at school, they had taken away his video game privileges. But deep down, Red and Evelyn knew he was going through his own struggles and wasn't entirely to blame. To cheer him up, they planned a picnic for the next day. Cain was so excited that he woke up before sunrise and came to wake his parents himself. After getting ready, the three of them set off for the forest. While Cain was busy playing with sticks and stones, Red and Evelyn sat off to the side, talking quietly. Evelyn's voice carried worry. "I don't feel right about anything," she admitted. "I don't think Cain will be able to adjust here." Red reassured her. "Be patient. In time, everything will be fine." Then, with a smile, he revealed a surprise. Knowing how much Evelyn loved carpentry, he had created an online store where she could sell her handmade creations. Hearing this, Evelyn's eyes lit up with happiness. In their pleasant conversation, they didn't realize how long Cain had been gone. When they finally noticed, they started searching the forest. Before long, they found him standing completely still in front of something strange. It was a door, standing alone, with no walls or building attached. Made of thick, heavy wood, it was old, worn, and secured with chains. Red thought it best to leave it, but Evelyn's eyes measured it carefully. "We don't have a door for the spare room," she said. "This one's in good shape. I can restore it." Reluctantly, Red agreed and loaded it into the car. For the next 3 days, Evelyn worked tirelessly to make the door look brand new. She removed the old hinges and locks, replaced them with new ones, sanded the wood smooth, and painted it until it gleamed. Then, with Red's help, she installed it on the empty doorway in their home. But the very next day, strange events began, small, unsettling things that hinted this was no ordinary door. Still, Red and Evelyn ignored them. Until one afternoon, when Evelyn opened the door to fetch something from the room, and a wave of foul, rotting stench drifted out, so strong and nauseating that it made her stomach turn. Evelyn noticed the foul smell but brushed it off, telling herself it was probably something trivial, maybe someone had left dirty shoes in the room. The day passed uneventfully. The next afternoon, after returning from grocery shopping, she reached into her pocket for her keys, and froze. Along with the jingling metal came the sickening sensation of worms squirming across her palm. Her heart pounded. This was no ordinary occurrence, especially not inside her own pocket. Panicked, she tore off her jacket and inspected every pocket and seam, but it was completely clean, as if the worms had appeared from nowhere. That night, she told Red everything. He tried to reassure her. "Don't overthink it. Maybe Cain was playing a prank and slipped the worms in with your keys. Just get some rest, I'll talk to him in the morning." Somewhat comforted, Evelyn went to bed. But past midnight, as she made her way to the kitchen for a glass of water, she saw a dark, twisted shadow in the hallway. A scream escaped her lips as she flipped on the light. It was Cain. Breathing heavily, she asked, "Why aren't you asleep?" "I was scared," he whispered. "I keep having nightmares, like some monster is chasing me." Evelyn and Red took him back to his room, speaking softly to calm him. "Son, there's no such thing as monsters, they only exist in books." After a long while, Cain finally seemed at ease. But as Evelyn turned to leave, she didn't notice the black, clawed hand slowly emerging from the red door behind her, curling in the air before vanishing again. The next morning, there was a knock at the door. Evelyn opened it to find Uriah standing there, pale and visibly shaken. Unable to speak, he frantically gestured, his eyes wide with urgency. Bit by bit, she understood, he believed their home had become dangerously infested with something otherworldly. Through signs, he explained that either some dark ritual had been performed there, or an entity from another dimension had crossed over. Evelyn agreed without hesitation to let him try to banish it. Uriah worked quickly, sprinkling a ring of salt around the house, lighting several candles, and beginning his silent ritual. Then he stopped and gestured, asking if anything had recently changed in the house. Evelyn told him about the old door they had brought from the forest. At once, his expression turned grim. He understood. Taking a bottle of holy water, Uriah poured it across the door's frame. Instantly, the lights flickered and died, plunging the house into darkness. In that moment, they both knew, the source of every strange, terrible thing, was this door. Uriah's face had gone pale, his gestures hurried and uneasy, he wanted that door removed from the house immediately. That night, when Red came home, Evelyn told him everything Uriah had said. Red listened and replied, "I don't believe in these things, but if you say so, I'll take the door out." The next morning, Evelyn went to the nearby library to search for answers. She asked the librarian if there were any strange or famous stories about the town, someone disappearing, sightings of a monster, tales about the forest, or anything about a mysterious door. The librarian shook her head. "Nothing like that," she said, but then paused as if remembering something. "Well, there are stories about a well in the forest. People say it's cursed. And yes, about 20 years ago, many children disappeared from this town in a strange way. No trace of them has ever been found." A chill ran down Evelyn's spine. She copied the old newspaper articles and returned home. That night, she tried to show all this to Red, but he cut her off. "You're getting too carried away with ghost stories," Red said. "Spending time with Uriah has put all this in your head." Evelyn stayed silent and went to bed. The next morning, when they woke up, they were stunned. The door, freshly painted just a few days ago, had turned back to its old, decayed state. The paint had peeled off overnight in thick crusts, as if it had never been there at all. "This is impossible," Evelyn murmured. "Maybe I bought cheap or expired paint. That must be why this happened." After dropping Kane off at school, Red went to work, and Evelyn got busy with house chores. But without her knowing, someone else was inside the house, a girl, pale and ghost-like. She wandered silently from room to room, then slipped back inside the red door. Evelyn heard the faint sound of the door closing and rushed over, but found no one there. Then, another message arrived from Kane's school. When Evelyn went there, she learned Kane had been suspended for 3 more days, this time for an even worse fight. On the way home, a terrible thought struck her: could what's happening to Kane be connected to that door? But then she remembered Red's words, telling her to stop thinking about such ghostly things. So Evelyn pushed the thought aside. For now, when Evelyn returned home, she told Red firmly, "Kane is showing no signs of improvement." Red thought for a moment and replied, "Then I'll take him with me to the construction site for a few days. Hard work will teach him discipline." A few days later, Evelyn received a bundle of old newspaper clippings from the library. While flipping through them, one headline caught her eye. "Local girl missing, no trace found." The article mentioned that the girl's mother still lived in town. The girl's name was Maggie. Evelyn immediately decided she needed to know the truth. Without wasting time, she went straight to the woman's house. When she knocked, the woman only opened the door slightly and peered out. "I came after reading the old news, about Maggie," Evelyn said gently. The moment the woman heard her daughter's name, fear and unease washed over her face. Evelyn continued, "I also found a very old door in the forest. I need to ask you about it." At these words, the woman's eyes filled with anger for a brief moment, but then she stayed silent and finally said, "Come inside, you need to hear everything." Inside, the room was dim, filled with the smell of dust and smoke. The old woman began her story. 20 years ago, my daughter Maggie became strangely attached to an abandoned house on the edge of the forest. No matter how much I stopped her, she would go there every day. Then one day, like the other missing children, she never came home. The last time anyone saw her, she was near that house. Her voice trembled, but she continued. I knew that house was cursed. I burned it down. But after the flames died, the door was still standing. Untouched. Not a single mark on it. That's when I realized, it's no ordinary door. It's a passage, to another realm. Maybe even hell itself. A place where the souls of innocent children are trapped. Leaning forward, she stared into Evelyn's eyes. I chained that door shut and left it deep in the forest so no child could ever become its victim. After that, the disappearances stopped. Her tone grew heavy with dread. But, you've brought that door back into town. Which means. She paused, her lips trembling. History is about to repeat itself. Evelyn was still listening to Maggie's mother's chilling story when her phone rang. It was Red. I've dropped Kane off at home, Red said casually. Evelyn's heartbeat quickened instantly. A cold wave of fear swept over her. If that door was truly what the old woman had claimed, then her son was in danger. Without wasting a second, she rushed toward the house, praying under her breath, please, let him be safe. But when she reached home, silence greeted her. Kane was nowhere to be found. Her worst fear had come true. She immediately called Red, her voice trembling. He's not here. Kane is gone. Within minutes, Red was back, and together they began scouring the entire town. Streets, parks, every corner, they searched desperately, but there was no sign of Kane. Finally, Red reported it to the police. Soon, officers were questioning neighbors and searching everywhere. Then, something stopped Evelyn in her tracks. Kane's small toy car rolled out from the inside of that mysterious door. Her blood ran cold. There was no longer any doubt in her mind. Kane wasn't lost, nor was he kidnapped, he was inside that door. She remembered how many times Kane had told her about strange creatures haunting his dreams, terrifying him to the point he couldn't sleep. She had dismissed it as a child's imagination. But now regret gnawed at her. She had failed to understand his fear, and today, that fear had taken him. Evelyn knew the police could do nothing here. There was only one man who might help, Uriah. She called him immediately. An hour later, Uriah arrived. His presence carried a heavy, silent weight. Evelyn told him everything, Kane's nightmares, her own growing unease in the house, the story from Maggie's mother, and the details she'd uncovered in old newspapers. Uriah listened intently, then spoke with quiet certainty. This door is no ordinary door. It's a portal to another world, a world ruled by some dark, demonic force. If there's a way to enter, there must be a way to return. He paused, looking at both of them. But first, we must put the door back exactly where you found it. Following Uriah's instructions, they carried the heavy, chain-bound door back to the exact spot in the forest where Evelyn had first found it. The air there already felt weighted, as if the ground itself remembered what lay beyond that door. They set it upright, and under Uriah's guidance, began preparing for the ritual. Candles were placed in a wide circle, their trembling flames casting long, uneasy shadows across the trees. Uriah knelt to the ground, carefully carving strange, ancient symbols, markings that seemed to hum and whisper with their own hidden power. As the ritual progressed, the air grew colder, heavier. It was as if the night itself was closing in around them. One by one, the candles began to die out, thin streams of smoke curling into the darkness. Then, their last lantern sputtered, and went out. Darkness swallowed everything. And then, it came. Something moved on the other side of the door, something ancient, monstrous, and unholy. They couldn't see it, but its presence pressed on their chests, suffocating and undeniable. Only Uriah's eyes could pierce the veil. He looked straight into the shadowed figure and spoke firmly. I need to go beyond this door. A cold, venomous whisper slid into his mind from the darkness. There is a price to enter, and you must give me something in return. Uriah reached into his pocket and pulled out the old, rusted key, the very one that belonged to the cursed door. Without hesitation, he handed it to the demon. The moment the demon's shadow-like hand touched it, the key dissolved into thin mist and vanished into the darkness. The ground trembled faintly as the door creaked open before their eyes. Every light, candles, lanterns, even the faint glow of the moon, was swallowed in an instant. And then Uriah saw them, dozens of children's souls, pale and hollow-eyed, drifting in the air like faint, dying fireflies. They were the very children who had vanished over the years. There was no turning back now. Uriah, Evelyn, and Red stepped through the door. On the other side lay a world of shadows, a realm where light dared not enter. The air was thick with fear, pressing down on their chests. The demon's voice echoed, deep and cruel. "These are mine, the souls of children. They give me power. I only take those who are afraid, for fear is my greatest strength." Evelyn's voice shook as she turned to Uriah. "Tell him to keep me here, but let my son go." From the shadows came a chilling laugh. "No such deal works here. Adults cannot remain. Here, only fear rules. Only those with fear inside them can stay." Evelyn's eyes hardened with defiance. "Then tell me, what can I do to get my son back?" "Anything," the demon hissed. "Anything," she said firmly. From the darkness emerged a blackened sheet of paper, its edges charred. The demon's whisper curled around them. "Sign this, and your son will be returned. But you must place this door somewhere I can take the soul of one child every day." Evelyn's heart pounded. It was a cruel bargain, but a mother's love leaves no room for hesitation. She took the pen, and signed. Behind them, the door creaked open, and Cain stepped out, pale, frail, and terrified. Evelyn clutched him tightly, tears of joy welling in her eyes. Her son was back, but the cost was dreadful. The three of them returned to the real world. The night air felt lighter, but Uriah's expression was grim. "This isn't over," he said. "That contract has given your souls to him. When you die, you won't go to God, you'll go to him. And before that, you must keep your promise, place the door where it can feed on children's fear. If you don't, he'll destroy you. Leave this town at once." The next morning, Evelyn packed her belongings and left with Cain. But Red stayed behind. He had one last promise to fulfill. He repaired the door, painted it to look new, and, with a heavy heart, placed it inside a school, where both fear and children were plentiful. He hated himself for doing it, but he had no choice. And so, a new chapter of cruelty began. Children would vanish, never to be found, while somewhere beyond the shadows, the demon feasted. The story ended here, but another one had just begun.